Everyone, it's KIREI here for Arden Creative Studio, and I'm using the fabulous new Christmas collection called Season of Joy by Katie Pertiet. And I am loving the colours. There's the reds, there's the green, so the real traditional colours, but there's also the beautiful teals in there, which I love. So I've pulled out this nice and bold striped pattern paper from the 12 by 12 paper pad, and then I've also pulled out one of the solids from the 12 by 12 solids paper pad in that light green. I couldn't decide between the two, as you noticed, but I picked the green. That was definitely the better option with this one. So I'm just going to have the striped portion as the top part of my layout, and I've just distressed the edges. But to be honest, most of it, at that bottom edge does get covered up anyway. So I have 12 photos because I decided that I was going to scrap just about the sort of memories of the festive season from last year. So I've pulled out a real selection of photos from across December in last year, just sort of showing the different things that I did, and just pulling together all those sorts of little memories of the festive season. So I have pulled out the red solids paper because I wanted the photos to pop from the background, and the red's the perfect sort of colour to do that with against those greens. So I've got the two strips of photos that I've used. Now I do print my photos on a small at-home printer, Canon Selfie, and my photo sizes are about 1 3/4 inch by about 2.5 inches. So I know they're not standard photo sizes, but I just love working with the smaller photos, and I have been for quite a while now, so that I can get quite a lot more onto my layout. But you could certainly substitute sort of the small photos for larger ones in place of it. Now, I have to highlight here, this is one of the rub-ons for the collection, and I've used this really large floral cluster with the sort of like poinsettias and holly on it. It is absolutely beautiful, and it goes on literally like butter. So easy, and I just wanted to create a bit of a background element for my ephemera clusters that I was going to add on top. In essence, the rub-ons are great for almost creating another another layer to your layout. So I've effectively got my sort of background paper, which is one layer. I've got my rub-ons, which is another layer. I've got my ephemera, which is another layer. So it's just sort of building up, and it gives me that sort of dimension that I love to get onto my layouts. So I've got my rub-on. I've added my ephemera. So these are from the Ephemera Essentials pack, the mistletoe branch and the poinsettia flower. And then I've got the Christmas, and I'm going to have Merry Christmas in red. This is from the Page Makers ephemera, and that's going to be my title. So I've got the Christmas at the bottom, and I have raised it up on foam pads. And then I'm going to create that top cluster there, and I've got the tree. I've just trimmed off the bottom so that I can just get that in just behind my photos. And then I've got this fabulous Santa here, and the Santa's from the lovely laser cuts pack, and you get such detail from the laser cuts. Beautiful. I love that they're, cut, they, beautifully defined around the edges. And I've got a few other pieces I'm going to use, and it's so fine. It's a fir branch, and oh my goodness, I love it. So Santa's going at the top. I can get my Christmas stuck down here, just slightly over the edge of my photos there. Just making sure it's nice and straight, of course. And now I've got my Merry at the top as well. Again, raised up on foam pads. Again, it gives me that, that dimension that I like to add. And then I can start to tuck in the other elements from the ephemera and the laser cuts. Actually, these are all laser cuts here. And that fir branch you can see there on the left that I've just tucked in, it's just cut so fine. You just have to be careful as well when you remove them from the backing. So because they are such, they cut beautifully. Okay, so tucking in the poinsettias here, I've got my fir branch, and I'm just fiddling around here deciding, because there is only the one in the pack, and I'm just trimming it because then I can add a piece on this side, but I can also add a piece over to the right side as well, so I can sort of just balance it out. So So I'm getting those layered up there, and you'll see that when I'm adding glue, I just add my glue to sort of the ends or the center of things so that I get that nice, I can still curve up the edges and that. Nothing is ever stuck completely flat when I'm adding sort of ephemera and laser cuts, that type of thing. So yeah, so you can see I've added the fir branches to the other side now as well. So it just sort of balances nicely out. Pulled out some of the phrase ephemera pieces from the essentials pack, and I've got on my layout, I've got filled with wonder, oh what fun, may your days be merry, hello December, and the best time ever. And I've raised the one on the end is raised on foam pads. This one here, the banner, I've sort of curved it so it's just stuck on the two ends and it's just curved up slightly. I've got these little holly bits here. I'm just seeing where I'm going to add those. I'm going to tuck those in around the clusters as well. And then I pulled out some of the stamps. These are from the laser cut pack. I'm just figuring out how I'm going to use those because I really quite like them, and I thought I'm going to sort of add them in. So I'm fiddling around here, but there we go. I've now got them tucked in. I've got them up at the top with the tree over on the far right, and then one over on the far left. And I've added some of the laser cut hearts I've raised on foam pads, and then I'm bringing in the coordinating enamel dots, and I'm just sort of adding a few of those into my clusters in the sort of red, the green. There's a really pale, almost grey, and the teal colour. So I'm just tucking little clusters of those in around my embellishment clusters. And I'm nearly done. I do fiddle off camera. I do slightly change the enamel dots because I just looked at them and thought, oh no, I needed to add a little bit. Yeah, so I do switch them very slightly. And then I go back to the rub-ons, and there's these teeny tiny words, and I've just pulled out 3 of them. I've got traditions, together, and magical, and I'm just rubbing them in around my bottom clusters. So yeah, so they're perfect. I mean, you could add a whole list of them if you wanted, but I just find they're really, really nice, just sort of tucked in around your embellishment clusters, just rubbing them in again, quite subtle, but yeah, but they just represent again what the things that are that my photo subjects are all about. So yeah, there are all sorts of things there, from Christmas dinner to Boxing Day, drinks at the pub, to postbox toppers, to meeting up with friends, going into London to see the Christmas lights in Oxford Street and Regent Street, the Wicked tree that was at St Pancras Station, advent calendar, stockings. So yeah, there's a bit of everything in there. So yeah, I just felt like it was a really nice representation of the festive season last year. So yeah, adding a few little more rub-ons again, just little small poinsettia clusters that I've added on either side. And then there's one more here with the holly that I'm just tucking in at the bottom right there. And then I'm almost done. What's next? Oh no, I'm adding another one. Yep. Okay, this is my favourite gold ink. I'm nearly at the end of it, but I am just going to add some gold splatters around the layout because, you couldn't have a Christmas layout with some sparkle. So, yeah. And there we are. We're pretty much done. I will add my journaling off camera down there on the bottom left. Here we go. There is the final layout, and here are some of the close-ups. You can see the lovely details from the different ephemera pieces and the laser cuts and those fabulous rub-ons. I hope you've enjoyed watching the process video, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.